I know gas is a problem. I was in Modesto the other day, and it took me $87 to fill up my goddamn charger. Like, I was like, how did gas get like this? But nevertheless, we are here. We are here. Trump, I thought you'd... Let me stop. What's going on? Shout out to everybody who's listening to me live. BU from Gaul. Shout out to the G Must Left, the 209. We are here at 916 if you live on the east side of Gaul, or maybe the... We need to talk about that there's really no such thing as a east or west. Let me not say that, because particularly we have that whole district-based voting thing starting. So I'm going to start trying to make this thing a regular thing. Shout out to Andrew Perry who just joined and who liked the broadcast. What's up with you, girl? I'm going to start trying to make this a daily thing that we do in the Gulf group. News, sometimes local, sometimes nationwide, sometimes statewide. Let us talk about it. Why in the is gas so high right now? So unless you are unemployment, unless you ain't had to drive up and down Highway 99 or I-5 to go back and forth to work, you probably have noticed the increase in the price of gas recently. It has went up. I've never seen so many goddamn fives in my entire life. Whether you go to Chevrolet up the street, whether you go to the gas stations, man. Yo, for the most part, Manteca and Modesto usually have fairly affordable gas. Even their gas prices are starting to go up. I know, because I work in the valley like that. And a lot of people are pissed. They're saying, what's going on? Why is gas rising like this? Shout out to Hung. What's up, my boy Hung? He in the group chat. What's up, my brother? Everybody's asking what's going on. I thought Trump would save us. I thought the price of eggs, milk, oil, and pussy would all drop. Me stop. That last one was too extreme. So, to be fair to Trump, number one, it's less of a Trump problem. Some of you guys from the Bay Area probably know where I'm going with this. It's more of an oil refinery problem, particularly with the Martinez fire. For those who do not know what I'm talking about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks more or less, there was a fire that broke out at one of the major oil refineries in the Bay Area, Martinez Oil Refinery. Shut down. Bringing this up is a big deal because at least 10% of the oil or gas that we deal with in this state particularly comes through that oil refinery. And as well as this actually being the time where about 7 or 6, I want to say 7 or 6, somebody correct me, of the oil refineries that we do have in California are currently closed or at half function because of maintenance and repairs. A lot of people are blaming Newsom for this. Newscum, as you guys like to so passionately call him. To be fair to him, in October 2024, you had Assembly Bill ABX21 that, technically speaking, would have prevented that and would have helped to stop the spike in gas, because the idea was it was supposed to keep all these oil refineries or certain gas, I'm about to say the wrong word, keep their fuel levels at a minimum, so that way you wouldn't find yourself in a situation where there's a shortage of gas and the price of gas spikes. The problem is even without a bill, it's even written in the framework of the bill, that does not necessarily mean that even though their minimum levels of gas are supposed to be kept at a certain level, that doesn't waive their right. That doesn't waive their right to, we'll say this. That doesn't waive their right to say, what's the word? That doesn't waive their right to shut down some of the oil refineries, or not shut them down, but have them at half performance capacity solely because they're trying to, do maintenance. The reality is these are oil refineries. You need maintenance. I could argue that maybe the reason you have that Martinez fire at the oil refinery Martinez was because of them not doing their goddamn job. So when you start talking about the price of gas in California, as of right now, from what I understand, it's the highest in the country. We have the highest price gas out of any state. Up until last year was Hawaii. And if you've been to Hawaii, you know everything in Hawaii is expensive because all of this shit is imported. Even if you go to Hawaii, like a gallon of milk in Hawaii, like when I was out there, this was 2 years ago, a gallon of milk in Hawaii, you would surely be paying about $8 a gallon for $8 for a gallon of milk. The gas thing, there is almost like a weird, I'll say, connection in between the frustration that the fire insurance companies went through in SoCal, as well as what some of the gas oil refiners, just like the gas companies, and I'm saying the wrong word, that work in the field of gas go through here. Even when you talk about, I just was now learning about that whole shit where there's a certain thing where there's certain low carbon fuel standards that we do have in California for our gas here, for our oil here. And if you are selling a product, a certain type of gas or oil, whatever you call it, that does not meet that standard, you have that option to do what you call a buy credit system, where you can buy credits to sell that gas from companies that do have low carbon fuel standards. Yeah, it don't make sense. It's like it's literally almost like a reverse tariff system, almost like a domestic tariff system, where it's like, if you have a gas company here and you sell gas, it has to have a certain low carbon, it has to have a certain amount of low carbon as an emission of it. If it doesn't meet that low carbon fuel standard, you can still sell it here, but you have to buy credits from another company that does have those standards to be able to do it. Their idea is the money that they're spending to do that goes back into the economy. It don't make any sense, right? The gas system in this state is kind of fucked. Like I did a broadcast in this very group and told y'all a long time ago. I didn't learn until I was older that when you buy gas, like 80 to 90% of just the price of the gas at the gallon of gas at the tank, that's just the tax. That's just all tax. That's all tax. Like, most people that own a gas station, they can tell you this, they really don't make that much money off the gas. They don't make shit off the gas. They make money off of what you buy in that store. That's why they be looking so sad when you walk out of there and don't buy a bag of chips, a bag of Cheetos, a drink or something like that. Like, that's where the core of their money is being made. So we're in a weird situation when it comes to that. There are some people who are saying, well, blame Trump. You can't blame Trump for this because, number one, we are in California, and reality is most changes that are going to affect the country on a mass national level, on a federal level, we're only going to see so much of that affect us in California because we're in California. It is what it is. I did see that request that Gavin Newsom put into Congress about requesting for $40 billion in aid to repair the homes in SoCal. I'm going to say I pray for them. My prayers go to them. I almost said something very ignorant, very, I'll say, insensitive to the rich, but it does kind of feel away. A $40 billion request to, yeah, man. It's funny because let me not say that. Much shout out to anybody out there who lost their homes in that fire. Shout out to anybody who's from Pacific Palisades. Let me skip that. Is gas going to drop soon? There is no hope for gas to drop soon. Like I said earlier, all the oil refineries that we do have in California, they're currently under maintenance, as well as the Martinez fire. When that one's being closed permanently, that affects the price of gas. That's one big thing. Also, as Easter season comes, as the season of Easter comes, holiday season comes, spring break, whoop whoop whoop, price of gas is gonna go up. So yeah, we ain't looking too good. And it's not just here. Like if you go to Nevada, the price of gas in Nevada is going up too as well. They've been talking about that too as well. So it's not just here. So if anybody out there who got to drive today, I'm sorry about that. Any of y'all who doing like I'm about to be doing, because I just got my conditional job offer for a police department. So any of y'all who gonna be doing like I'm doing, that 2.5 hour and a half drive to the Bay Area, back and forth, I feel you, because I know your gas tank is bleeding. Next topic I wanted to talk. I'm looking at my notebook. Next topic I wanted to talk about was our veterans DEI hires, our handicapped veterans DEI hires. Let us talk about this. So, this has been a conversation for quite some time. Let me not say quite some time. Ever since there's been an aggressive attack against DEI programs and DEI hiring initiatives. And if you want to know my stance there's certain aspects about DEI that I agree with and certain aspects I do not. 100%, you should have some DEI initiatives to hire disabled people who are not able to perform, or just disabled or handicapped people. I feel like you should have a space for them in the workforce. There's nothing wrong with the disabled guy who the greeter at Walmart. There's nothing wrong with that guy. I don't have an issue with that. I don't like when you have racial based incentives to hire somebody and it's at the risk it comes with you not valuing their experience or skills, but you just want to make a racial quota. I don't like that, but I don't know if that's more affirmative action or DEI. I'm bringing all this up because there has been a conversation of people saying, well, would you consider veteran preference hiring a DEI practice? Which I was saying, no, I don't consider veteran favorite hiring practices DEI. But then somebody asked, well, would you consider a handicapped veteran hiring preference? Would you consider that DEI hires? And I remember, I forgot, it was one post I was reading. It was one guy, he worked for some corporation. He was saying like under their budget or amount of like just their something systems, they for 100% factor in handicapped veterans as under DEI hires or something to that effect. So it's kind of like a game of musical chairs. Bringing all this up because last week the Department of Veteran Affairs laid off 1,000 goddamn people. Laid off 1,000 people. Shout out to Doug Collins. Doug Collins, he's the Secretary of Veteran Affairs. We all knew this was coming. We all knew this was about to happen. Those 1,000 that they laid off to the Department of Veteran Affairs, the position from the Department of Veteran Affairs, their jobs ranged. Some were researchers on prosthetic limbs. Some were researchers on breast cancer. Some were researchers on cancer treatment. Some were researchers on cancer treatment. Some were supposed to be researchers on opioid addiction amongst veterans, and some of them have lost their job. I have read an article, but I haven't confirmed this for sure, that they said at least 2 of the workers for the Department of Veteran Affairs that got fired out of the 1,000 were suicide hotline workers for the Department of Veteran Affairs. I haven't confirmed that. I just saw one Democratic lawmaker saying that they intervened and stopped that, but sometimes they be lying, so that's one thing. I bring all this up because when you start talking about DEI hires, and when you start talking about, I'll say, you caring about those that people don't care about in all. If you ask my personal opinion about the Veterans Office, I've never met a veteran who had anything nice to say about the VA's office. Just being honest with you. Every veteran that I know has said they take fucking long, they don't help our veterans properly. So there's one aspect of me that does want to say, yeah, I mean, you cleaning the swamp of all these people who do not serve at all, who do not help the cause at all. But then also in that same token, I did read a report saying that yesterday, a lot of those workers who got fired out of the 1,000 just got their position reinstated. And I do wonder if some of that was because maybe the backlash they're getting from firing people, particularly from the Department of Veteran Affairs office. Understand this. With a lot of those layoffs, federal layoffs that are happening, it's not just with the IRS. It's with the Department of Veteran Affairs. It's the Department of Homeland Security with us. I'm federally contracted, not a federal employee. I'm federally contracted. There's a difference. There's the Department of Homeland Security. It's with Department of Veteran Affairs. It's Department of Education. It's with everybody. And to be fair to the Department of Veteran Affairs, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Doug Collins, who is a decorated man, well man, according to him, the 1,000 that got laid off from the Department of Veteran Affairs, they were non-critical to the mission of the Department of Veteran Affairs, if that makes sense. And a lot of them were, according to him, quote-unquote, probationary workers. My stance with you laying off veteran affair workers is kind of my stance with the IRS shit. I can tell you, some of the worst people ever employed are people who work at the IRS and people who have federal jobs. The issue I have with a lot of these layoffs is 9 times out of 10, you not firing them. Because a lot of the worst workers, and I hate saying this, bro, because it really shits on people who put years and years into their career. But I'm telling you, a lot of the worst federal workers that I know are the ones that have been there for 20 and 30 years. I'm telling you, somebody who does federal security. Those are the ones you should be talking to by saying, hey, your time might be up. A lot of those probationary workers that you are dismissing, be that the VA's office, be they at the IRS office, a lot of them were supposed to become full-time employees. Then on top of that, do you know how hard it takes to get a job in one of them goddamn offices? Do you know how hard it takes? It take a long time. So I don't know. You could have a whole conversation about that. We are having a whole conversation. I don't know why I say it like that, but I mean, some people support it. Some people support it. I haven't been able to interview any of the people who got fired from the Department of Veteran Affairs. If anybody who wants to talk to me, please let me know, hit me up, DM me, etc., etc. But all I just know is like the positions that they said that they had were people who research on opioid addiction amongst homeless veterans, people who are working on prosthetics, limbs, or any prosthetic research, prosthetics improvement for people who are veterans, as well as cancer treatment for veterans. So those sound like very critical positions to have, but according to Mr. Collins, the VA, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, he don't feel like it's an issue. So, and to be fair to him, I mean, Doug Collins, even though I'm a little bit critical, I'm a little bit skeptical of what he's saying. But to be fair to him, he is a veteran. He served in Iraq in 2000, in Iraq in 2008. Decorated Air Force member. I I have to imagine he knows a lot more about what the heck he's talking about than me. You know, I'm not a military man, but it does kind of seem like you're cutting your nose to spite your face a little bit. And I do think you can kind of tell because, like I said, a few days ago, I learned that a lot of those people who did get laid off initially from the Department of Veteran Affairs got their damn job back. And I think a lot of it was because the backlash was being like, hey, what the fuck you doing, bro? Like, listen, forget them. Like, we all hate the IRS. Don't nobody like paying taxes. Don't nobody like paying taxes. But these mother, you got to think about it. You got to move a little bit better, brother. Even when you talk about with the Department of Education, it was some buggers that got laid off there too. A lot of people got laid off at the Department of Education too. Not a lot. For all we know, it's not like a crazy number, but it was like a few student aid workers, a few special education workers, as well as just a few people. But it wasn't. This is what I'll say. This is what I will say. At the end of the day, this is who you voted for. This is who you voted for. So some of these changes that we are going to go through in our country, you know, I do think the IRS does need some reform. I do think the Department of Veteran Affairs needs some kind of reform. I do think they should treat our veterans better and do a better job of handling them, particularly when they come back home from war. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is going to be like a daily thing that I do. I'm going to start trying to do this more daily. Just get like a little rant out there to y'all. So if there's anything you guys want me to talk about later on, probably tomorrow, let me know. I'll be back here again at 6 p.m. As always, much love and peace and chicken grease. I'm going to stop.